Okay, going back to the question. So I think there is a confusion. Flow rate. Yeah, Mariam, you are right. Flow. If I convert the value into hourly rate, then it becomes flow rate or sub-hourly volume. Okay, which is done in the third column. This column, this one. So this one is the flow rate or rate of flow. These values, they are actually only for 15 minutes. They are only for 15 minutes. This is 1000 in 15 minutes. So this is flow. This is flow. Okay. Now what do we call this value? 4200 vehicles in 1 hour. What should I call this value? Volume. Yes. So now no, flow rate is the last column I told you. Okay. 4200 is the actual value which is recorded in the whole hour, right? Which is recorded in the whole hour. So flow rate, let me explain it again. Flow rate is when you take the flow value and convert it to 1 hour. Okay, so you have to go through two steps. First, value should be, or there are two conditions for flow rate. The value should be taken for less than 1 hour, and the second condition is the value should be converted to hourly rate. Okay, so until both conditions are met, you cannot call it a flow rate. Okay, so flow is when the value is only taken for 1 hour without any conversion, that is flow. Okay, when you take the value for the complete hour, that is volume, which is 4200 in this example. Okay, so 4200 is the actual value which is taken or which is observed in the whole hour. So we call it 42, we call it the volume. Okay, now let's say, so you can see in the third column the fluctuation in the rates of flow. Okay, so the lowest one is 3600, the highest one is 4800. Okay, and then we have some values in between them as well. So there's a lot of fluctuation even within the hour. Having a fluctuation of 3600 up to 4800 is a very high fluctuation. 1200 vehicles in the rate is a very high fluctuation. So you can see the flow rates fluctuate within the hour. The rates of flow fluctuate within the hour. Now let's say some engineer comes and he says, I don't know about rates of flow. I'm not interested in them. They are making my life difficult. So I will not consider them. I'll just design using this value, which is hourly volume. Okay. I missed that lecture in which Dr. Onab was explaining about the rates of flow. So I don't know about them. I will just take the design hourly volume, which is 4200. Okay. I will design according to that. Okay. I don't want to see the video lectures anymore. So you design according to 4800 per hour. So 4800 per hour is your capacity of the road because you're designed according to that. So what is the capacity of the road for the flow for a 15 minutes flow? So 4200 in 1 hour. So how many vehicles can you pass in 15 minutes? Okay, so 1 hour means 4 intervals of 15 minutes, right? 4 intervals of 15 minutes, or 1 hour is 0.25 of, 15 minutes is 0.25 of an hour, right? 15 minutes is 0.25 of an hour, or 15 minutes is 1/4 of an hour. So 4200 divided by 4 means how much? 4200 divided by 4 is how much? Tell me. 0.25 is the number of intervals of 15 minutes you have in an hour, right? 0.25 is the proportion of an hour, right? 0.25 is the proportion of an hour. 15 minutes is 0.25 proportion of an hour, right? 25% proportion of an hour. So 1050. So your capacity for 15 minutes flow is 1050. If you design using this value, the capacity of the road in 15 minutes is 1050. So the road has a capacity of 4200 in 1 hour or 1050 in 15 minutes. Now let us see how the road will operate under this capacity. So you see the same flow are repeated again, the ones which we observed, the ones for which we have designed supposedly. And this is the capacity. In the third column, you see the capacity. So the capacity is 1050 vehicles per 15 minutes. Okay. In the first 15 minutes, 1000 vehicles arrived. They are less than the capacity of the road. So they will all pass without any problem. So no vehicles waiting in the queue at the end of this 15 minutes. Okay. In the next 15 minutes, number of vehicles arrived are more than the capacity of the road, which is 1050. Number of vehicles arrived are more than the capacity of the road. So 1100 minus 1050. So 1000 out of 1100, 1050 vehicles will pass, which is according to the capacity of the road. The remaining 50 vehicles will form a queue. The remaining 50 vehicles will form a queue. Okay, not the letter Q, the word queue, SUF. Okay, so they will be stuck in a traffic jam. They will start forming a traffic jam in the segment. Okay, so the traffic jam starts at the end of 5:30 p.m. and it starts with a 50 vehicles queue. Then in the next 15 minutes, 1200 vehicles come. Obviously, they are also more than the capacity of the road. So out of 1200, 1050 vehicles will pass. 1200 minus 1050 gives you 150. So these 150 vehicles will be added to the queue. The queue was already 50. 150 will add, so you will end up having 200 vehicles in the queue. So the queue will go from 50 vehicles to 200 vehicles at 5:45 p.m. Okay, and then in the last 15 minutes interval, the flow is 900, which is less than the capacity. So these 900 vehicles can pass. Okay, and since it is less than the capacity, so I still have some space left to let the vehicles from the queue pass the segment. So how much capacity is remaining which can pass from the queue? That is 150, right? 150. 900 minus 1 or 1050 minus 900 will give you 150 vehicles. So I still have extra capacity of 150 vehicles which will pass from the queue. How much is the queue? 200. From this 200, 150 will pass. So the final value of the queue will be 50 vehicles. Okay. So at the end of 6 p.m. or at 6 p.m. exactly, I am left with a 50 vehicles queue. Okay. Now, if you add all these values, the answer is 4200. Out of 4200, 50 vehicles could not pass. So the actual number of vehicles which passed from the segment, 4150. So you see the capacity, the actual number of vehicles passed from the road are less than the capacity of the design capacity of the road. And this is not because you took the wrong value for the hourly volume. This is because you did not consider the fluctuation within the hour. Okay, so this queue happened because of the fluctuation within the hour, and these 50 vehicles are left because of that. So not considering the rates of flow or the variation in the rates of flow or the variation in the sub-hourly volume will result in some vehicles waiting in the queue even till the end of the hour. Okay, so these 50 vehicles may leave after 1 hour, after 2 hours, we don't know, but the capacity of the hour was not satisfied. Okay, so is it clear? Anyone has any question? Okay, so how do we consider the rates of flow or the sub-hourly volume into the analysis, into the design? For that, first of all, let us fix the interval for which the flow rate will be taken, the sub-hourly volume will be taken. Now you can take the flow for 5 minutes, you can take the flow for 1 minute, 10 minutes, all of them are less than 1 hour. So you can take the value for any number of minutes less than 1 hour and you can convert it to rate of flow. So we need to fix that value. Okay. So the most commonly taken value for rate of flow within the hour is 15 minutes. Like I have shown you in the previous example, 15 minutes is the most commonly taken value or the interval for rate of flow. So rates of flow are calculated for 15 minutes interval. Okay, or the flows are taken for 15 minutes interval. Why? Because it is considered to be a stable and a very convenient interval. If you take less than 15 minutes, obviously you have to record more values. Okay, now we have softwares which can help you with the calculation, but still the flow has to be observed from the field. So that's why we restrict ourselves to 15 minutes. Okay, although if you go to the softwares, you will see that softwares can even allow you to take the rate of flow for even 1 minute, but it's not stable. It shows a lot of variation and it makes your life difficult in the field when you are collecting traffic data. So 15 minutes is usually taken the value for measuring the flow. How to incorporate the variation of rate of flow in the hourly volume? We divide it with the peak hour factor. Hourly volume is divided with the peak hour factor. Then you take the value, the resulting value for your design. What is the peak hour factor? Peak hour factor is a ratio of hourly volume upon peak rate of flow. Peak hour factor is the ratio of hourly volume upon peak flow rate or peak rate of flow. Okay, so in the previous example, the hourly volume was 4200 and the peak rate of flow is for these 15 minutes interval, right? So this is the flow, and when you convert it to the rate of flow, this is the peak flow rate, 4800. This is the peak flow rate. Okay, so 4200 divided by 4800. Okay, now you can see here again just a small clarification. Peak 15 minutes value, which was 1200, this one, either you divide by 0.25 or multiply by 4, it will give you the same answer. 1200 divided by 0.25 or multiply by 4 gives us the same answer. Okay, so in the table we were dividing by 0.25, and here in the formula they are saying multiply by 4. It means the same thing. Okay, divide by 0.25, multiply by 4 means the same thing. Don't get confused about it. It means the peak flow rate. That's it. We are calculating the flow rate. Divide by 0.25 or multiply by 4. So if you calculate the peak hour factor for the previous example, the hourly volume was 4200. The peak flow rate was 4800. So after multiplying by 4, okay, or after dividing by 0.25, it was 4800. You do that, you get 0.875. Okay, so this is the peak hour factor for the last example. The range of peak hour factor goes from 1 to 0.25. The range of peak hour factor, highest one is 1, the lowest one is 0.25. Now 1 means what? If I get peak hour factor equal to 1, it tells me what about the hourly volume and the flow rate. What does it tell me? If peak hour factor is 1, what does it mean in terms of the hourly rate and the peak hour volume? Tell me.
They are equal, doctor?
They are equal. Obviously, they are equal. So equal, yeah, there is no Q. No. Q depends upon whether you took the peak hour factor into calculation or not. So we actually don't know. If you took the peak hour factor in your calculation, there will be no Q. Okay. Yeah, but you are right. Hashim, you are right. Yeah, no Q. Yes, you are right. You are right. Okay. So peak hour factor of 1 means that the traffic is evenly distributed within the hour. The traffic is evenly distributed within the hour. So each 15 minutes, you are having approximately the same number of cars, same number of vehicles. Okay, so peak hour factor of 1 means uniform distribution of traffic within the hour. Okay, and if you get peak hour factor of 0.25, it means the reverse. It means the reverse. 0.25 will be the peak hour factor if in the hour all vehicles came in one particular 15 minutes interval, and the remaining 45 minutes did not have any flow. Then the peak hour factor will be 0.25. So 0.25 will be when all vehicles which came in that hour came in a particular 15 minutes interval, and the remaining 45 minutes had zero flows.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How we know? We only take 15 minutes. How we know about the rest 45 minutes?
You have to take the volume for the full hour. Like I showed in the example, you are not taking for only 15 minutes. You will do it like this. So I have the value for the 15 minutes and I have the full value as well. See here. Okay. So the hour is divided into 15 minutes interval, but you have the value for all 15 minutes of the hour. Okay, you have the values for all 15 minutes of the hour. Otherwise, how will you know which one is a peak 15? Okay, if I have only taken for one. Okay, so you are taking for all the hours, or all the 15 minutes interval, but the values are 0. You are observing it. Okay, you are observing it for the full hour, but the values became 0. What can I do? Okay, nobody came. I cannot force people to come in the you are not controlling the flow. The flow is 0. You observe the flow and you observed it to be 0. You were on the road, you were observing it, but there was no vehicles coming. Okay, so 0.25 doesn't mean that you only observed for 50 minutes. You observed for the full hour, but the vehicles came in only 15 minutes. This is what I'm saying. Okay, so I think this was a confusion. So 0.25 value means that the remaining 45 minutes you did not no vehicles came on the road. Okay, then the peak hour factor will be 0.25. Now this can happen maybe at midnight, but obviously this means you are wasting your time, right? Why would I take the volume at midnight? I am interested in the peak hour volume, right? Peak hour volume. So in the peak hours, peak hour factors are usually towards the higher side, nearer to 1. Okay, so the normal values are 0.98 for urban areas, meaning close to 1 for urban areas, and 0.7 for rural areas. And the reason why urban areas have higher values and rural areas have lower values is the same which I explained for the K and D factors yesterday. Remember, I explained the K and D factors yesterday, their trend. The same rule applies here. When traffic is more uniform within the hour, then the peak hour factor will be higher, and which happens in the urban areas. Urban areas have a higher population, higher traffic demand, so traffic becomes uniformly distributed. Rural areas, the other way around. Lower population, lower traffic demand, so traffic is has more unevenness, more variation. So the peak hour factor goes lower. So peak hour factor is directly proportional with the distribution of traffic, and distribution is uniform for the urban areas because of high population and high demand. Okay, the next macroscopic parameter is speed and travel time. So when we are discussing speed as macroscopic parameter, we are talking about average speed, like I said earlier. Now why speed and travel time are mentioned here together? Because speed is directly related to travel time, right? Many of you have measured speed in your term projects using the travel time. You fixed the length of the road, 100 meters, 150 meters, and you said we observed the travel time of the car to move through this distance, and then we calculated the speed using the travel time. So this is why in this book or in many other cases you will see the speed and travel time are discussed together for traffic analysis. Okay, because obviously they are closely related. So speed is calculated distance upon time. Okay, you have done that, you know that. And travel time is a time taken by a vehicle to traverse or pass a section of the highway. Okay, like I said, you have done it for your term projects as well. There are two ways. So we are talking about average speed here. Okay, average speed, because we are talking about macroscopic parameters. So average speed can be calculated for vehicles in two ways. Average speed of vehicles can be calculated in two ways. You can have time mean speed or space mean speed. Time mean speed or space mean speed. Now you can see the definitions on the slide here for both of them. I will just highlight the difference between them. Time mean speed can be taken for any length of the section or for even a point as well. So it is the average or mean speed of vehicles which are passing over a point or a lane of the highway in a given time period. So for example, you had 15 minutes of time interval in your term project, and you said that whoever is passing through the highway in these 15 minutes, we will record its speed using any length of the highway, or maybe a speed gun, or maybe a mobile app, or any such thing like this. This will be, and then you take the mean of that, and this will become time mean speed. For space mean speed is calculated as a mean speed of vehicles which are occupying a section or lane of the highway. in a given time period. Okay, so again you have 15 minutes interval, but now you are saying the speed should be measured for the vehicles for the whole section of the highway, and in this case section of the highway cannot be chosen arbitrarily. You cannot say my section of the highway is 50 meters or 60 meters or 100 meters. Section means the full section, intersection to intersection, beginning of the highway to the end of the highway, or from this point to another point. Okay, the full route or corridor or whatever. Okay, so in this case for space mean speed, it must be taken using the travel time of the vehicles for the entire section. Okay, so if you are measuring speed over a point, then space mean speed cannot be calculated. So you have a speed gun or a mobile app or any such device, and now you are measuring the speed standing at a particular point, then a space mean speed cannot be calculated. Or you say I'm selecting a length of the segment which is 10-15 meters. Again, space mean speed cannot be calculated until you consider the entire length of the section. It cannot be calculated. Okay, so this is the difference between time mean speed and space mean speed. The time mean speed can be over a point or any section of any given length of the highway, but space mean speed must consider the full length of the section of the route. And this is why travel time is important, because space mean speed is taken from travel time. Okay, so you can see the equations here, TMS and SMS. TMS means time mean speed. SMS means what? Short messaging service, right? Like you give an SMS to send an SMS to anyone. No, space mean speed. Okay, in this book it means space mean speed. So for the calculation of TMS, they are using distance upon time, which is the speed of individual vehicle, upon n, which is the number of vehicles which are observed for speed. Okay, number of vehicles which are observed for speed. So distance, each vehicle can have a different distance value, or you can replace this d by t ratio with directly value of s, speed value. D by t can be replaced with s, speed of the car or speed of the vehicle, if you have taken speed directly using a device. So for calculation of TMS, d by t is not necessary. Okay, you can have any value of d, any value of t, or you can replace it simply with the value of speed. Okay, and n is the number of vehicles for which this is observed. For SMS, you can see d is fixed, which is the length of the section or length of the highway, whatever. So if I am talking about Sheikh Zayed Highway, the complete Sheikh Zayed Highway. Okay, and then divide by average travel time. Okay, so T is the travel time for each vehicle. Summation of travel time upon n, number of vehicles, will give you average travel time. Okay, average travel time. So for SMS, you need travel time. You cannot be calculated, and travel time must be for the entire section of the highway. Okay, so this is the main difference. This is a very simple small example. We have given with data for 6 vehicles, and we have to calculate the TMS and SMS for the entire group of vehicles. So let me make a table here. Here I will have vehicle number and then the speed, feet per second. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the data was observed for 6 vehicles. Okay, so for each vehicle, I will first of all calculate the d by t ratio. Okay, so give me the distance upon time for each vehicle. Vehicle number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Calculate the values. Vehicle number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Give me the value for each one of them. Should I just leave it and move ahead? TMS 1.4. I don't know how you calculated it, but this is the wrong value. If you give me a D by T ratio for each vehicle, then we can proceed forward. Give me the D by T ratio for each vehicle, please. Whew. Okay. Second is 50. So the last two are also 50. They have the same travel time. Third is 45.45. Who can give me the fourth value? How much is it for vehicle number 4? Fourth is 52.6. Okay. 52.6. Okay, now for the calculation of TMS, I just simply take the average of these values. Okay, sum of speeds divided by 6. There are 6 values. So give me the average here. I think what Hussein calculated is correct. The value is correct. TMS, which was 50.6 miles per hour. Okay, so he somehow calculated directly. Anyways, so then for SMS, I need the average of travel time. Okay, so I need the average travel time. So again, summation of travel time divided by 6. So give me the average of travel time, average of this column. $19.83. Okay. Seconds. Okay, then SMS will be 1000 feet, which is the distance. Okay, and you can see it was constant for all the 6 vehicles, which is the condition here, and then divide by 19.83, and it gives you how much? 1000 divided by this, how much? 50.4. Okay, now in this example, you can see TMS and SMS are not the same, although they are for the same vehicles and the same distance. So this difference is not coincidental. It is not by chance. TMS and SMS most of the times will not be exactly equal. TMS and SMS will not be exactly equal in almost all the cases. Okay, and their difference, like in some cases there will be more difference between them. In some other cases there will be less difference between them. Like in this case, the difference is very low. Why? Because the data is very small. The data set is very small, only 6 vehicles, and even in these 6 vehicles there's not a lot of variation. Okay, so if you had like maybe 10-20 vehicles, some of them were going very slow, some of them were going very fast, then you will see more difference between the values of TMS and SMS. Okay, so TMS and SMS are not exactly equal. Okay, and you can see SMS is lower, and that will be the case. SMS is always lower. Whenever there is a difference between TMS and SMS, SMS is always lower. Why? Because SMS is more affected by the slow moving vehicles. So if there's a slow moving vehicle, a vehicle which has a higher travel time, it will have more effect on SMS as compared to TMS because of the method of calculation. Because of the method of calculation. TMS, you are using travel time to calculate the speed, and then you are taking the average. So it has less impact on TMS as compared to SMS, where you are directly taking the average of travel time. Okay, so SMS, because of the effect of higher effect of slow moving vehicles on it, it is lower than TMS. Okay, so these are the two things which you can observe from this data. Okay, the next thing which we macroscopic again. The next macroscopic parameter is density. Now, who can give me the definition of density? Density of a material. What's the definition? How do you define
the amount of mass per unit volume?
Amount of mass per unit volume. Yes, mass over volume. Both of you are correct. So in terms of traffic, mass is a number of vehicles and the volume means the space of the road. Traffic density, mass means number of vehicles, volume means the space of the road. Okay, so traffic density is defined as number of vehicles occupying a given unit length of the road or the highway. A given unit length of the road or the highway. So density is measured as vehicles per mile or vehicles per kilometer, or if you are measuring it in metric system, then it will be vehicles per kilometer or vehicles per kilometers per lane. Okay, obviously if you are measuring it for one lane, it will be per lane, otherwise it will just per mile or per kilometer. Okay, so it's the number of vehicles in a unit length of the highway, either in miles or kilometers. Then density is very difficult to measure. Why? Because for measuring density, I need to count number of vehicles which are present on a 1 mile length. So that means I should stop everybody, right? So that I can do my counting. I should let everybody stop so I can do my counting. And that is absurd, right? Nobody will allow it. People will kill you for that. So you can use drones and satellite images to do this, but then obviously not everybody has a drone or a satellite image to work with. So density is very difficult to measure, because to measure it directly you need some extra or complicated resources. Okay, so density is calculated using speed and flow relationship. There's an equation between density and speed and flow. We will discuss it later on in detail. Why do we need to calculate density? What is the importance of density? If it is so difficult to measure, why should we measure or calculate it? Density is directly related to demand. If demand is higher, there will be more vehicles on the road, so then density will be higher. Demand is higher, there will be more vehicles on the road, then piece density will be higher. Okay, so demand is directly proportional to density. Density also affects speed, and speed affects flow. Higher speed means higher flow rates. So how does density affect the speed? if density is higher, that means there are more vehicles in a unit length of the highway. That means spacing between the vehicles will be less. Okay, there will be less spacing between the vehicles. Vehicles will be closer to each other. Higher density means vehicles are moving closer to each other. So that means the speed will be lower. The speed will be lower. So density, speed are inversely proportional to each other. So lower density means less vehicles in a unit length, so they have more space to move with, and speed will be higher. Okay, so density is inversely proportional to speed. Density is also an indicator of quality of flow. Quality of flow. Okay, in terms of comfort and freedom to maneuver, freedom to do different things in your driving. Okay, so density is directly affecting that as well, or indicating that as well. Because density higher means what? Congestion. Vehicles are close to each other. They are moving slowly. So your comfort level will be lower, and your freedom to maneuver will also be lower. I think I posed this question in your section, that in one of the earlier activities, that what is the most stressful time during your driving. And I think in this section, somebody said that when you are moving in the congestion, during the congested segment. Okay, because your comfort vehicles are very close to each other, you cannot move according to your own wish, and you according to your own mood. Your speed is very slow. So this is directly related to density. So density is higher, then comfort and freedom to maneuver will be lower, and vice versa. So density directly proportional to demand, and inversely proportional to speed, comfort, and freedom to maneuver. So that's why density is important, and that's why we calculate it. Now we come towards microscopic parameters. There were 3 microscopic parameters: speed, headway, spacing. Okay. Microscopic parameter, speed will be taken for individual vehicle. Now we have enough knowledge to know how to measure the speed of an individual vehicle, and there is no further discussion required for speed. So we will just discuss the other 2 microscopic parameters, which are headway and spacing. So spacing, you can see a figure here. Let me increase it. Now in this figure, you can see 2 distances, and these distances are on the photo. Okay, 8.5 centimeters is not the actual value. It's a value on the photo. It has to be converted to the actual value, but this is not our task. So you can see 8.5 centimeter measured from the front bumper of one vehicle to the front bumper of the next vehicle. Okay, and then you see a value 2.7 centimeter, which is measured from the rear bumper of the first vehicle to the front bumper of the next vehicle. So this is basically the clear distance, and this is the distance from front bumper to front bumper. Now which of them is spacing? Guess, or raise your hands. If you say 8.5 centimeter is the spacing, raise your hands. So 8.5 centimeter is from front bumper to front bumper, this value. So how many of you think spacing between the vehicles should be 8.5 centimeter, which should be taken for traffic analysis? Raise your hands. Raise your hands if you say traffic analysis. Raise your hands. Yeah, Ziad, if you say 2.7, then don't raise your hand. How many of you are saying 8.5 centimeter should be taken as a spacing? Raise your hands. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So only a few of you think that 8.5 centimeter. The remaining are thinking it should be 2.7 centimeter, and the majority of you are wrong. The correct spacing is 8.5 centimeter. The spacing which is taken for traffic analysis is 8.5. This value, which is from front bumper to front bumper. Okay, from front bumper to front bumper. So spacing between the vehicles is taken from the same reference point of both vehicles, is measured from same reference point of both vehicles. So if you are measuring the spacing between vehicles, and you start from the front bumper of the first vehicle, you measure it to the front bumper of the next vehicle. If you start the measurement from the rear a bumper, you end it at the rear bumper. So 8.5 centimeters is the spacing between two successive vehicles. Okay. So you can see this is for a pair of vehicles. The spacing cannot be for a single vehicle. You cannot measure spacing for a single vehicle. It must be between a pair of vehicles. Now, if you measure spacing between multiple pairs of vehicles, if you measure spacing between multiple pairs of vehicles, then you can calculate average spacing as well. So that average spacing is denoted as DA. DA. So DA means average spacing between multiple pairs of vehicles. And if you're a single, that you simply write it as D, small d. So small d is spacing between one pair of vehicle, and DA means that you measure it multiple times, and this is the average value. Okay, the unit of spacing are distance per vehicle. So if I say spacing is 200 feet, then after 200 feet I have the next vehicle, right? So this is 200 feet per vehicle, 200 feet per vehicle. So distance per vehicle, and if you take the inverse, it will become vehicle per distance, vehicle per unit distance. If you take the inverse of average spacing, it will become vehicles per unit distance, which is density, So if you take the inverse of average spacing, now remember, density is a macroscopic parameter. So density cannot be calculated using a single value of spacing. Density must be calculated using average spacing. Because density is macroscopic, so it cannot be calculated using a single value of spacing. It must be calculated by using average spacing for number of pairs of vehicles. So inverse of spacing will be density. So you can see the equation over here. Inverse of DA is density. Capital D is density, and small dA is average spacing. And then you can see the 5280, which is the conversion factor, because density is vehicles per mile, and spacing will be in feet. So 5280 is a conversion factor. And if you are doing everything in metric units, then we know the conversion factor between meters and kilometers is 1000, right? So if it's average spacing is in meters, and you want the density in vehicles per kilometer, then the conversion factor is 1000. But the relationship is, it's the inverse of average spacing. Then we have headway. Just give me 1 more minute so I can complete it. So let's say you are observing the headway from this point. So this is my observation point. This is me, and this is my observation point. So when vehicle number 1 crosses my observation point, I will start measuring the time. So headway is in terms of time. Okay, so I will start measuring the time when vehicle number 1 crosses the observation point. Okay, and when the same reference point of vehicle number 2 crosses the observation point, I will stop my stopwatch. Okay, and whatever time is shown there, that is the headway. Okay, so spacing was in terms of distance and headway is in terms of time, but the remaining part of the definition is the same. The time interval between two successive vehicles to pass observation point measured for the same reference point on the vehicle. So if you started the watch when the front bumper crossed, you stop the watch when the front bumper of the next vehicle will cross. Okay, so that is headway. Okay, so it must be for the same reference point, like I said for the spacing. It is now in terms of time. That was in terms of distance. This is in terms of time. So you are measuring the time for the vehicle to pass your observation point. The units for headway will be seconds per vehicle. So if I say 3 seconds, the headway is 3 seconds. So after 3 seconds, I had the next vehicle. So headway is seconds per vehicle or time per vehicle. And if you take the inverse of headway, it will be vehicle per unit time. Vehicle per unit time, which is the flow. Vehicle per unit time is the flow. Okay. So if you again, flow is a macroscopic parameter. So if you take multiple headways, you take the average, that is HA. You can see in the slide HA, and if you take its inverse, it will give you the flow. Okay, and if you convert that flow into per hour, it will be the rate of flow, which you can see in the equation here. 3600 is a conversion factor. 3600 is a conversion factor because the headway is in seconds and vehicle per second will not mean anything, right? Vehicle per second doesn't mean anything to us. It cannot be used anywhere. So we have to convert it to vehicle per hour. When you convert it to vehicle per hour, it becomes rate of flow, small v. Okay, rate of flow, small v. So inverse of headway is basically flow, and then you convert it to per hour, it will give you the rate of flow. Okay, so inverse of average headway. And obviously time is not affected by the unit system. So whether you are measuring it in metric system or the feet system, doesn't matter, it will remain the same. You are just taking seconds and hours. So, and vehicles, obviously number of vehicles remains the same. Okay, so I will stop here. Any questions, any queries, any problems, any suggestions, anything you want to say, please go ahead. Okay, if everything is clear, then thanks for listening, thanks for participating. You are all welcome. Have a nice day. I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. You are all welcome.